5 frugal tips to stop living paycheck to paycheck. Every week, whether you want to or not, you clock in and out of work. For some, this effort yields major financial progression, but unfortunately for others, no matter how hard they work, they never even make a dent in their wealth goals. Why is that? Because they're stuck in the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. While this life of financial destitution is becoming more and more common by the day, fortunately this lifestyle can be escaped if you have the right financial system in place. So, if right now you're struggling to get by, don't worry, because in this video I'll share with you 5 frugal tips that if followed will ensure you never live paycheck to paycheck again. First off, one important point to note is that if you're presently living a tight financial life, just know that you're not alone. In a survey conducted in August of 2022, 61% of respondents said that they are living paycheck to paycheck. Unfortunately, this percentage only rises as we look at millennials. A survey conducted by Payments and Lending Club found that 70% of millennials were living paycheck to paycheck, many of them falling into this terrible financial trap while earning 6-figure incomes. Now, if you're presently living paycheck to paycheck, then I don't need to tell you how one falls into this world of financial purgatory. However, for those unfamiliar, the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle is a symptom of multiple factors. To avoid living this undesirable lifestyle yourself, it's important to understand the causes and identify solutions so that you don't become the next person who would struggle to meet a $500 expense. When you look at the statistics of how many people are living paycheck to paycheck these days, it's really no surprise. For most people, seeing that over 100 million Americans can barely keep up with their bills triggers a shocking response. But when you start to really drill down into the financial system most of us exist in, then the fact that the majority of people are living paycheck to paycheck starts to make sense. As such, let's go over 4 reasons why so many people are one missed paycheck away from going into the red. The first issue that contributes to many people living the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle is debt. As you know, saving is a key financial practice that must be in place to get ahead financially. Unfortunately, when you have debt and are required to make repayments every month, it's like pouring water into a cup with a massive hole in the bottom. You're going through the motions, but little progress is made. What's worse is that most people are not earning enough money to overcome their debt loads and still save money every month, but we will dive into that point shortly. Now, for some, the solution is simple, right? Just don't go into debt. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. In the world we live in today, getting a fancy piece of wallpaper, otherwise known as a degree, is basically mandatory if you want any chance of getting employed anywhere other than McDonald's. As such, the majority of young adults are subjecting themselves to tens of thousands of dollars of tuition cost every year, with the majority of them having to take on student debt to cover these costs. Therefore, the cost of entry into the working world has never been higher, and as such, most young adults are starting their working lives behind the 8 ball thanks to society's push towards higher education. However, let's say that all the stars align and you turn that piece of wallpaper into a nice office job with free coffee and 3 weeks annual vacation. You're all set, right? Not so fast. Sure, if you're able to turn those 4 years of college into a job, then you're probably already ahead of many of your fellow grads. However, an employee badge and a desk doesn't mean your financial troubles are going to be left in the rear view. The next factor is that keeping people in the paycheck to paycheck struggle are low and stagnant salaries. If you study entry-level salaries over the past 40 years, the figures are frightening. Entry-level salaries today, adjusted for inflation, are the same as they were in the 1960s. Now, given these numbers are adjusted for the present day, you may be thinking, well, that's not so bad. Sure, it wouldn't be that bad if the cost of actually getting that job, aka degree, hadn't exponentially increased in the same time period. This is all to say that your starting salary isn't likely to wipe out student debt clear anytime soon, and with salary increases hovering around 3 to 5%, Low and stagnant wages are another reason why so many people struggle to meet their financial obligations every month. And if you agree, let me know by gently tapping that like button below. At this point, you're probably wondering if the world is out to get you, because yes, it is extremely hard for most people to get ahead financially these days. Now, let's say that you do overcome the financial burden of your educational journey and find a job that pays you well. If you could do these two things, you're in the clear, right? Think again. As you know, in the world we live in today, one of the cornerstones of adulthood is buying your own home. While there is nothing wrong with renting, I think we could all agree that common convention is to buy a home and pay down your own mortgage versus someone else's. Well, in practice, this seems like the right move to make, but again, it's easier said than done. One common financial principle is that you often hear is that you should spend no more than 3 times your income on your home. For instance, if you make $80,000 a year, your home should be no more than $240,000. In most cities now, sticking to this rule is virtually impossible. As such, most homebuyers these days are forced into buying homes that are greater multiples of their income. Now, you could probably already see the issue with this situation. However, let's pull on this thread a little more. The obvious issue with buying an expensive home is meeting the mortgage payments every month. But that's just the tip of the financial iceberg. With a more expensive home, you have costlier repairs and more property taxes, higher insurance costs, and the list goes on. In some circumstances these days, people are spending upwards of 50% of their monthly income on housing costs alone, which alone is pushing many people into the paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle. Until this point, we've basically absolved every single person living paycheck to paycheck of their contribution to their own financial destitution. Well, don't think you're getting off totally scot-free. The final factor of keeping most people one missed paycheck away from financial despair are their own money habits. It's pretty hard to get ahead when you're continuously buying new outfits that you don't need or golf clubs that, no matter how much you dream, won't have you playing on the PGA Tour. In short, those who are living paycheck to paycheck are often their own worst enemy, with all of these financial factors already going against them. Another foe is the last thing that they need. Now, that you know the root of the paycheck to paycheck problem, let's talk about the solution. Given this crappy situation to be in, it's only fitting that we use the bidet system to get you out of the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle once and for all. The bidet system is like a 5-pillar approach to escaping and staying out of this life of financial despair for good. Let's break down each factor so you could get back on your feet and kiss your financial worries goodbye. First pillar in the bidet system is your budget. As mentioned, poor spending habits are a key contributor to most people's financial issues, and not having a plan for your spending is like skydiving without a parachute. Things aren't going to go well. As such, you need a budget system in place, and the recommended budget is the 80-20 budget. With this budget, you could allocate 80% of your monthly income towards expenses and 20% towards savings. This way, your savings are already factored in. As such, you could stick to your budget, then you're guaranteed to start to pad your bank account with a bit of extra cash every month. The second pillar in the bidet system is income. Unless you have the worst spending habits in the world, it could be argued that if you're making $10 million a month, that you wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. As such, part of your financial issue stems from your lack of income. This is why the second pillar, we focus on raising your income. This could be done in 2 ways. First, you could cajole your boss into giving you a raise. This is worth a shot, but you probably won't place all your eggs in your basket. Instead, aim to start generating income outside of your 9-to-5 job. This could be done through picking up a part-time job, creating a side hustle, or learning a high-income skill. The third pillar in the bidet system is debt. As mentioned, most people are going to have to interact with debt at some point in their lives, and for many this starts with student debt and can expand into credit card debt, auto loans, and of course a mortgage if you do decide to buy a home. While it's generally best to be rid of all these debt loads, the ones you should focus on first are the ones that are highest interest rates attached to them. This means if you need to steer clear of debts like credit card and auto loan debts as best as you can. If you find yourself already laden with debt, then here's what you can do. Organize your debts from the highest to lowest interest rates and start paying them down one by one. Now that you have a budget and are making more income, you should be using that 20% from your budget to quash as much debt as possible. Moving on, the fourth pillar in the bidet system is your emergency fund. One of the easiest ways to stay trapped in the paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle is not to have money set aside for unexpected financial events. This is because whenever you have a surprise expense come up, you have to tackle the issue with debt, and this leads to you paying more and more interest every month, leading to perpetual financial destitution. As such, you are able to pay off your high-interest debts, start to stash away money into your emergency fund. I recommend setting aside 1 year's worth of expenses, but 3 to 6 months is a good baseline to start with. Finally, there's the last pillar of the bidet system, which is time. Part of the reason that people fall into the paycheck-to-paycheck trap is because they are poor managers of their time. I hate to say it, but most people I see struggling financially are those who always are watching Netflix or engaging in pointless debates online. If you are presently struggling with your finances, one of the best things that you could do to help yourself is to audit your spending your time. Now, over the course of the week, write down how you spend each and every hour of your time. If this is the first time doing this, the results will be shocking. Once you have the results, start to identify your lowest value activities like the 8 hours you spend watching Netflix or the 12 hours you spend leveling up on World of Warcraft. Swap out this time for more financially beneficial activities like taking on some extra hours at work or leveling up your skills by reading or taking a course. When you master your time, your money will follow. Therefore, as we just discussed, living paycheck to paycheck is a shitty situation to be in. Fortunately, with the bidet system, you could clean up your financial situation and financially start to move your wealth needle in the right direction, especially if you use the 7 old-fashioned living tips I share in this next video. So click on over and let's get started.